is that I think that Bobby Rahal has all of his fuel also. So he may be another person that can go all the way. There was no other reason for them to hold Rahal in until they saw all the fuel go into the tank.
Well, I may agree with you on that, Jan, but I got to tell you, there's a lot of laps left, and I'm not so sure they can go that many laps. There's 41 still to go. Now, maybe what Little Al's doing is taking a chance there'll be another yellow. Whatever the case is, he can come in and make a splash. With Roger Penske calling it, who knows? He's a gambler.
Everybody stopped on 54. So Gary and Jan, let's start with Gary. Who can go to the distance? Everybody?
Well, I just came jogging down here to check on Michael Andretti. I got the eye of one of the guys who's on the computer, and I said, fuel, and he says, this is the big adventure, and he laughed. It doesn't tell me much, but it tells me that they got to be concerned. Now, I haven't been able to confirm that with team manager Lee White or Peter Gibbon. They're on the radio right now with Michael.
Jan, what about your area?
Well, I'm standing next to Roger Penske. Asked him if I could have a word. He gave me the one finger sign saying, just a second, he's talking to Al. Maybe he can answer that question for us. They're going to get the green next time by. Roger, obviously he wants to talk to Al first before he talks to us.
Yeah, it's at the point of the track where he can get direct communications with Little Al as they come by on the pit straight.
Tell you what, guys, I'll update you when he gets done talking to Al.
All right, and what we'll do is we'll take a very quick break here, and when we come back, we'll be ready for the green flag in what has turned into a most fascinating race, not only for the race title, but the championship. Well, this has gotten so fascinating.
It has, but we're talking about Little Al and everybody's fuel. I think what we've forgotten is the story for me is Jimmy Vasser's in third spot right now, is going to have to make a stop or run through the pit and stop real quick. It's going to drop him to the back of this field. He's going to have to take a lot of chances to get back into a point-scoring situation.
And Al Unser Jr., of course, is, as we look at it, sitting back in the field. And was that Vasser that responded right there? Yes, it was. Vasser came in. Gary?
They're going to top off with fuel. What I'm not sure of, I think they may still have to make a pass-through. I'm not certain about that.
Well,
but he's gone now, and he's got the fuel that'll carry him to the distance.
That would be the Nigel Mansell rule from Australia a couple of years ago, where they said you can't service the car while responding to a black flag. So they've serviced the car. Now they're going to have to come in again.
Well, I don't know if that works. He also didn't take the green. I think he has to take the green and make his stop. I'm not sure. But don't forget, with the new rules, I'm not in that new penalty about it's not a stop and a go. It's just kind of a wave that he drive through that he may be able to take fuel.
Jan?
Well, that same argument is going on here with Roger Penske and the IndyCar officials. He ran over there immediately when he saw Jimmy Vasser get service and said, hey, he's got to come in again. That's not fair. You can't do it. You got to bring him in again. So the argument continues here in Penske Racing.
Well, I think we all agree that he has to come in again. But what advantage might they have gained, Gary?
Well, the team is fully expecting that he will, in fact, have to make a pass-through again.
So why? Why would you do it in that order?
Maybe because Roger Penske did it.
Minimum
took on the fuel. This time he can come through kind of hot, just touch the wheels and go. So maybe they topped it up like Roger Penske did with Al Unser Jr. He's going to the back of the field anyway.
You've got the fuel. It minimizes the exposure. Jimmy is now in contest with nobody, well behind the rest of the pack racing together as Rahal continues to work on Michael for the lead.
As a driver, I'm really glad that somebody in the pits is thinking about all this and working out the strategy. Can you imagine trying to figure out exactly all this stuff while you're out there trying to drive the race car and pass people?
Well, but yeah, you bring up a great point. How confused can a driver get in the middle of all that? You get what seems like an off-the-wall order. Do you just obey it, or are you in there arguing? How do you deal with that?
I think that unless you really see something that is terribly, terribly wrong, you have to obey that order, and you've got to trust what the guy in the pits is doing, is calling. You got to have your faith in him. You got to have a lot of faith in a guy like Roger Penske. He's won a lot of races, a lot of championships.
We've been talking about the championship. Here is Jimmy Vassar, clear track ahead, and he comes in answering the black flag.
Okay, now this will be where he just does his little drive-through. See, he didn't stop in his pits.
No, he doesn't have to, though, drive-through, Gary.
No, just a drive-through. No stop whatsoever. Just right on down the road at 60 miles an hour.
And now he can throttle it up and try and catch up. Point, I think we ought to make on the race itself. Michael leads, Ray Hall second, but with all of this happening, Christian Fittipaldi is now third, Fernandez is now fourth, and Brian Herta is fifth.
But as
there are the top cars.
But as we see, this is going to come into a lot of pit strategy when these guys all have to stop, and those other guys got Al Unser Jr. and Jimmy Vassar have full tanks of fuel. My only concern for Jimmy is that he is now at the back of that field. He's going to have to take some chances to dive through that traffic.
Right behind Brian Herta, as we ride with Christian Fittipaldi, who started 14th, is now third, is Paul Tracy. That will be important to keep in mind because of the similarity between his car and Al Unser Jr.'s. Little Al is further back yet. There's Tracy. There's Robbie Gordon. There's Little Al and Robbie Gordon. Jan Beekes?
Well, we're going to talk to Richard Buck because we know how busy Roger is trying to make all these race strategy calls. First of all, can you make it to the end with the fuel you have?
Well, right now that's what we're gambling on. Obviously, it's a cat and mouse game we're having to play right now with Vassar. He's the one that we're racing. It's going to get to a point here where you know, it could go green the whole way. If it does, all the rest of the guys are going to have to stop on the green. That'll put us out front.
Are you guys now satisfied with the way that he has come in and honored the penalties? I know, obviously, when he came in and got service, you wanted to make sure he didn't have that drive-through.
Well, we're still investigating that right now. We got to get a good look at the rule book and make sure everything was done, you know, to the rules. So, but right now it looks like they are.
Remember, guys, part of the strategy is go as fast as you can and then make sure the other guys don't go faster than they can.
Yeah, Richard Buck, go with your instincts. I think you've got it figured.
Well, that's right, but he said something interesting there about Al Jr., that they're playing cat and mouse and that he figures that Vassar's going to have to stop for fuel. Jimmy put fuel in after Little Al, so he's got more fuel on board than Al Unser Jr. does.
Robbie Gordon and Al Unser Jr. currently locked in this fight for ninth. Want to make sure that I identify Al Unser Jr. correctly, because we were talking about Tracy earlier and may have slipped on the two positions. Tracy is up further in sixth place, and both of these cars are, of course, caught up behind the Toyota. That neat camera, brand new view from Robbie Gordon's car down the pit straight into turn one. Here's Unser Jr. just ahead, slamming down for the hairpin now.
Trying to find a way around P.J. Jones there. He doesn't want to take any chances. He also has probably got his fuel mixture turned down a little bit, trying to conserve a little fuel.
Got an interesting point just brought up. Robbie Gordon leaving for NASCAR next year. Al Unser Jr. fighting for the championship. Robbie's not in that fight. He's right behind you. How comfortable are you going to be?
Well, Robbie's still running a race. He still wants to do the best he can at this place. I don't think he's thinking about NASCAR, but I don't think he's as concerned when he makes a pass whether it's all as clean as maybe Al Unser Jr. is.
Heating up again at the front as Michael Andretti now has Ray Hall working him pretty hard. Third is Christian, then Adrian Herta and Paul Tracy. Robbie Gordon is battling with Unser Jr. Back at the Molsonetti, ready to go green. What a run this should be. As green comes out, Michael Andretti the leader, then Ray Hall. Christian Fittipaldi in third. But the key, of course, in the battle of the championship is Vassar and Unser Jr. Unser Jr. in 8th, Vassar in 11th.
He got squeezed over there.
And you see Little Al right behind him. That's the thing that he can't get caught up in.
Little Al trying to get around his teammate. Looks like Paul Tracy's going to, I think that might have been a little team orders there. Let him get in front of you. Get that one car behind. You're not in the hunt for the championship.
And what we had was a full course yellow as a result of Juan Fangio got sideways on the racetrack, and that brought out the full course yellow. And of course, a full course yellow helps with the fuel. Paul Tracy, keep an eye on him.
Sideways bang. He hits the wall there. Left front, left rear. Well, maybe that's one of the reasons he moved over. Somebody going up in the pits.
Tracy going for the pits.
Paul Tracy, he's obviously banged that thing harder than he wants. He's up in the pits.
And that move, of course, is going to help Al Unser Jr. It's one more spot.
And Vassar is up in 8th behind Paul Tracy, according to our scoring.
Keep an eye on this racetrack. We're looking for Vassar. There's Unser. There it is. Absolutely.
He's back in the hunt.
So Vassar gets a great start. Of course, the Canadian television covering this, and they're focusing up on the front. I'm not so sure anybody would have gotten that, though, because Vassar really jumped through there.
He must have gotten a great go there. Let me tell you something. This makes it awful interesting. Paul Tracy's day is done. Getting out of the car, he obviously, you can see a little of the suspension. I saw a couple of the arms there were bent. So he obviously got in the wall harder than we thought.
75 laps complete.
What this also does, Paul, is interesting. Those guys stopped. They got fuel later than everybody, that being Al Unser Jr. and Jimmy Vassar. That means at some stage where they can run their fuel mixture more rich or richer, more rich than the other guys can, because they don't have to conserve as much fuel. So at the end of the race, they might have a little bit more horsepower than some of those other cars.
Watch and chew for that interval behind little Al, and trying to get a glimpse of Jimmy Vassar, who should be closing in. 25 laps to go, 75 complete. The data feed coming over to the graphics generators at the television compound apparently had a hiccup. It's back now, and hopefully we'll be able to recycle it, reboot it, and start putting in the running positions in the race. Yeah, there it is. We can do that for you now. Very sensitive, these little computers, you know.
Jimmy Vassar not quite as close as he would like to be, but his main concern is Al Unser Jr., who's out there right in front of him. He doesn't have to be right behind him, but he'd sure like to be, because don't forget, Michael Andretti is still in this.
But look, Danny, he's closing. He's catching Al.
Well, he might be catching Al because of that traffic in front of him.
Whatever the reason.
Whatever the reason is. But he does not want Al to slice through those guys, get a couple extra positions and a few more points. And he also has to be somewhat concerned about Michael Andretti, who I believe has probably led the most laps now in this race. That's 1 point, and he's out in the front. That's 20. That's 21 points. Jimmy Vassar's back in a spot right now where I believe he gets about 5 points for 8th spot.
Gary, Paul Tracy out?
Yes, he is. Paul, damage there on the suspension, the left front. What were you trying to accomplish when you got out and brushed the wall? What was the setup?
Well, we're going to go with the options. We blistered the primes in the middle there, and that's, I guess, what everybody was having problems. We were in good shape with the Marlboro car, and just got to be tight quarters out there. Herta checked up. He looked like he made some contact with Fernandez, and I just kind of ran out of room and just touched the wall and just put a little kink in the A-arm, and something we can't run with.
In your estimation, does anybody have